miss that part. So when I do come to England, I always try to make sure I fit in some churches as well when I'm there. And the church can't afford to fly me over, and then I'm normally over. I'm teaching at a church, some church, at church, teaching at the Barbanell and Stansted, and then I'll add a few churches on. So then money doesn't have to come into it. It's not, and that's what makes me smile sometimes for the churches. They say, "Oh, you won't come to us, will you?" And I says, "Well, I can't if I'm not asked, can I? I know, but how much would you charge?" I said, "I've never asked a church in my life to pay anything I can't afford to pay. I earn enough money as a teacher to meet my needs. So where the church is concerned, it doesn't matter, And I think this is what we should do, and particularly those who want to become full-time mediums. I'm not saying it's wrong that we don't earn money from it, but we've got to keep the balance right, take from where it's there, but then also to give back where there's that need. And all those who I've personally helped on an individual basis become the mediums they are and teachers today. They've said to me, "What do you want from us, Paul?" I said, "I want nothing for myself." I said, "All I ask, no matter how well you do, how big a name you become more popular, that you will always give back to our churches as well. That's all I ask of you for what I give, And I believe that's important."
And of all I know you've been doing this for a few years now, so it might be difficult to recall one, but of all the contacts that you've given, do you have many that really stay with you, that have stuck in your mind and have affected you as much as the recipient?
Quite a few, actually. You'll always remember the ones that really that have been a disaster, and you've been ready to cut your throat on the way home. You always remember the ones that that was just something extra and special about. I think one that was, I can't tell you any of the details.
No.
The one that taught me a lot as a medium. I was actually driving from Longton, and it was to the Spiritualist Church in Brown Hills, and I was stuck in a traffic jam, and I was going to be late, and I was talking to the spirit world, and I kept saying, the last few Dems have not been very good. You've got to pull your socks up, it's not good enough. And I heard this voice say to me, and it goes back to what we said earlier, it say to me, "Why are you doing this? What was your motive and intent in the first place?" And I had to be true and honest to myself. I was no longer doing it for the right reason. When I was going out to take a service, a demonstration, I was going out to try and prove how good Paul Jacobs could be. So I arrived at the church a little bit late. The committee were all waiting outside and panicking. And so, "Oh, you're here. It's important." They said it's a memorial service as well. I said, "Oh, thank you very much. You're supposed to inform me beforehand. How can I speak about the person whose memorial it is if you've not informed me in end?" I said, "And there's no time now to speak to the family." Yeah. And so I said, "Do you have the details, like the service with some of the details from his funeral?" And they said yes. So they went to fetch it. And just before they handed it to me, I said, "Oh, he was called George." They said, "Yes." I said, "I don't need it." And I was able to speak about him in the service without being given any information. And then in the demonstration, he came, spoke to his wife, and gave individual evidence to his wife and individual evidence to his 3 children. And then every other contact afterwards was somebody in the spirit world whose funeral had either only taken place that week or the funeral hadn't even taken place.
Yeah.
Wow. Why did that happen? Because I'd gone back to the true intent of why I was doing it in the first place. And we've all got to admit it, we're all human. And this is why there has to be this continuous self-awareness going on. It's only human, it's only nature to want to impress everybody, to everybody love what you're doing, for everybody to pay you a compliment and think you're good. Mm-hmm. But also that reminds me of the time, my very first demonstration on a Sunday afternoon, I turned up at church and I'd got this feeling that he was going to ask me to take part in the service, and I didn't want to. So I thought, I'm not going to go dressed properly, so he can't ask me to go on the platform. So we got to the church, and I got there, and he looked me up and down. He said, I was going to ask you on the platform. He said, but I can't ask you on dress like that. And then he says, well, we'll have to put that to one side. He said, I'll be doing the address and you will give the demonstration. So I did. And then before we went on, he said, are you nervous? I said, yes. He said, very nervous. I said, yes. He says, good. He says, when we introduce you, there's none of this, that it's your first time. Mm-hmm. He said, because that will create a negativity. He said, and I don't care how nervous or how doubtful you are, you give and project a positive and a confidence. If you don't, then they won't believe what you're getting if you don't believe what you're getting.
Yes.
The first contact went really well. It was, I don't know whether she's listening today, it was for Jackie's mother.
I think she might be here online.
I still remember that contact today. So that was my first one ever. And it still stays in my mind today. And then the others afterwards were a bit rompy, to be honest with you. And after the service, Gordon said, are we having a cup of tea? I said, yes. He said, go and make it. So I made it. And he sat me down for an hour and told me everything I did wrong. And then he said, but always remember, it was all worthwhile for that first contact. And remember, when you work in future, as long as you touch one person and make a difference, it's all been worthwhile.
Yeah.
And that's what helps me when I do have a demonstration that I don't feel satisfied, I don't feel I've done a good enough job. We're all human, we're all going to have that, okay? But then I just look and try to recognise that maybe there's that one person that maybe it's made a difference to. And that gives me the encouragement then and to still go forward and continue my work, even if I still have some struggles and difficulties with it. But, you know, again, just one short one I'd like to give an example of. And this is why, you know, I'm very much teaching. We've got to, you know, technique and structure is important in demonstrations, but we've got to get back to the naturalness. It seems that we've put technique and structure first and thrown away the naturalness. Mm-hmm. You know, we've been told how to receive it, what to receive, and what order to give it, and it's just destroying the mediumship and so boring mediumship and limiting the spirit world to the contacts and the information they can bring. And it was in Switzerland, and I was coming to the end of the demonstration, and there's a young girl, she only looked like 16, 17, and I knew she was going to have a contact, but I wasn't going to deliberately make it. I just knew it was going to happen, and it was the last one. And I went to her, and I said, you've listened to the other contacts this evening, and your contact is not going to be the same. You're not going to get the same type of information and evidence the others have received. So I hope what I want to give you is enough for you. I said, your father's here. He walked through the front door and never returned, and it's not your fault. Simple as that. I said nothing else. She was absolutely broken-hearted in tears. That's all she needed. The whole room was in tears. There's no need to try to give a complicated discussion, whether he's bald, fat, or whatever, or guess at his age, or whatever. The spirit world knew what to bring, providing to allow that naturalness. Yeah, and this is why, you know, she wants to say, well, as a contact or in training award, well, the contact's got to be 7 minutes, or you know, how long's a contact got to be? Stop it. You know, the spirit world knows what to bring. If they can say it in a minute, fine. If they need 3 minutes, fine. If they need 10 minutes, fine. You know, stop putting all these barriers to the naturalness of what should happen take place. And then we'll see far more interesting mediumship and evidence. And we've got to stop judging what is good evidence and what's not. You as the medium can't judge what good evidence is. You don't know what something or a word might mean to somebody. And also, you know, assessors can't judge what a good contact is. You know, and an audience can't judge what a good contact is either. Only that individual. You know, I can remember giving a sitting, and you know, don't get me wrong, I can give sitting that are not very good as well. But I was giving this lady this sitting, and I was amazed. I was sitting there, I was thinking, God, I wish somebody would give me a sitting like this with this quality evidence. That stone face all the way through it. I thought, I don't believe this. I'd be excited, I'd be on cloud nine, excited if somebody was giving me a contact like this. And then at the end, I just said to her, I said, it's time for your father to go. I said, he just wants me to reach across and stroke your face like he did every night when he said good night to you. And she just broke down. That, for me, that was nothing. That was just an average type of thing. But that meant more than all the evidence I thought was marvellous and wonderful. So we've got to stop this judgment.
Paul, what are you like as a recipient?
I think I'm easy. I
can see people laughing.
Yeah. I think what the problem is doing a sitting for me is like doing a demonstration to 100 people. I know so more. So the trouble is, unless you say who your communicator is, okay, and be correct with it, there's so much information that I can't, you know, so generic that it fits so many people. Even if you think being specific. Say, for example, say if you've got a man, say, Paul, there's a man here, he comes with a father feeling or a father figure, and he passed suddenly to the spirit world. He was a smart man, wore nice suits, passed very quickly. He was a businessman. He had a shop. I've got 5. I still wouldn't know which one you're on about.
Yeah.
So it's not me being difficult, you know. And if you think, you know, if you've got an elderly lady with a perm in a floral dress, I know about 30.
Yes.
So it's not me being difficult or awkward.
So what do you think about the recipients in different places? Because different countries respond in different ways, don't they?
That's right. I actually think the German people are some of the hardest. Okay, it's like a flat, no feeling or emotion. It's a flat, no, yes. Okay, and you can do nearly a whole contact, and you come into the last demonstration I did here at House of Spirit. I thought this contact was great, the way it was going, and then near the end, I said something which was wrong. No, you're not with me. It's not my contact. And he just had 10 minutes good contact. You know, that's the way they are. The American people, they're terrible. They'll tell you more than you'll tell them if you let them. And even when you try to shut them up, they don't stop. So, you know, it varies, you know.
We do have that in the UK. People like, I think they like to help you. They think that yeah, they're helping you, but it isn't really, is it?
Yeah, and the trouble is, too many mediums or so-called medium are happy for it because they don't have to do the job they're supposed to be doing. You know, I'll say to my audiences, you know, I'm supposed to prove the contact to you, not you to me. You know, okay, I'm not saying there's not the odd occasion, a little something, fine, but not when it's, you know, because for me, and you know from, you know, my teaching and training with what I did with you and Mitch, you know, as I'm giving the one piece, before I've got my yes and no, I've already got the next piece of information. So if they say too much, they're going to tell me what the next piece is. So I can't say it because it's not evidence because they've told me. Oh. Yeah. So, and actually, if you get too involved in a two-way conversation with your recipient, you'll find you'll come away from the communicator. You won't get into the power of them, you'll stay on the edge of them, or you'll lose them altogether. And this is what you see with some mediums. They might have a contact to start with, but they only get a few sentences, and then it's all about the recipient, because they've got too involved with the recipient, and they've come away from spirit, and they've dropped in on psychic, but then saying it's a message from the spirit world. They haven't dropped on the psychic level.
I've got a question here from a lady named Vaughn, who I know as Vaughn. Has Paul received communication from Gordon since he passed?
It just means what you mind by communication. I'm aware of him at times. Not that he's my guide, okay. He's a very busy man because he's got thousands of mediums who recognise him as a guide. I find quite often I have people say, "Oh, he turned up in our trans circle," but then when I've turned up at those trans circles, he never comes. He only comes when I'm not there. It don't make sense. But I know at times, especially when I've got to do big events in demonstrations, because he was good at doing the big, large theatre events. I know he's often there. He does help me with those. He also, when he first passed, I received my own personal evidence from him. I was giving, just not long after he passed, I was giving a sitting to a regular client of Gordon's, Dr. Somebody, you know who I mean, Kath, I won't say his name. And anyway, he rang me and he said, Paul, Gordon normally sees me on a regular basis, and now Gordon's not here, well, can I come to you? So I said yes, but I was dreading it, you know. I thought, you know, what's he going to expect from me after seeing Gordon? I'm not going to be able to come up with the quality Gordon could come up with. So I was sitting in Gordon's room in his chair, and while I was waiting for the gentleman to come, I was aware of Gordon, and I could see Gordon standing there, holding out his hand, and in his hand was a pair of cufflinks. And I thought, you know, if you've come to speak to Doctor, then I need more than that, and nothing else came. So anyway, the gentleman came in for his sitting, and I said, before we begin, I said I was aware of something before you came. I was aware of Gordon, and he kept giving me cufflinks here. So did Gordon ever give you a pair of cufflinks? And he said no. And I said, well, did you give Gordon a pair of cufflinks? No. So I said to the guy, I said, okay, then we'll have to just let it go. So I just forgot about it. After I'd finished that sitting, I'd got to go to Gordon's house, to his niece who lived at Gordon's house, and to collect all Gordon's spiritual books, which are now in the new church in the library. And I loaded the car up. She left me to load the car up, and I stood on the doorstep and rang the bell, and she came to the door, and I said, I've finished loading the books. Thank you very much. I'm off now. And she says, just hold on a moment. Don't go just yet. And she disappeared, and then she'd come back, and she says, hold out your hand. I held out my hand, and she placed Gordon's cufflinks in my hand. So, you know, so that was just an hour and a half before he came to me, really telling me he was going to give me.
Yes, how wonderful.
You know, I've had one or two other things from him as well, you know, personal. We had a good friendship that 10 years of his life. I think I was one of the few people, because he was quite a lonely man, even though he was
very private man too, wasn't he?
Very private, but also that, you know, when you have a lot of people around you like that, it's very difficult to allow people in your inner space and circle, and particularly after his mom and his close friend Frank Tams passed in 1978, and there was two people who we trusted the most, who he was close to, and I think really I was probably the first person afterwards it really allowed to get in there on that personal level and have that friendship and connection he could trust.
Taken an enormous amount of faith and trust for Gordon to carry.
In the back kitchen, Jeff.
Jeannie, where are you? Sorry. It must have taken an enormous amount of faith and trust to carry on after Gordon, after they passed, for Gordon to carry on in the way that he did.
Yes, it did, because, you know, he was vulnerable like anybody else, so there were his strength and his support. You know, I mean, he'd got that strong committee around him. I mean, his sister was also a very good, and Hazel was a very good support to him. She would do all the hosting of his friends or his other people. She would even put people up for him. And also, if he needed a bit of space, he could go and spend time with her at her house. So she was a good support to him as well.
I've got a question from Andrew, who says, I'd like to know Paul's thoughts on whether new students to mediumship should embrace the altered states and learning to feel their own energy and the energy of the spirit contact, and using the blending between spirit to bring the essence through.
Okay, so first of all, Andrew, you know, all mediumship, whatever form, whether it's the philosophy, whether it's the healing, whether it's the evidential communication, what we call trance, all mediumship is an altered state. You can't be a medium unless you're in an altered state. I think the problem is in the beginning, not enough people, Andrew, spend time on their own, going into their own soul, awakening that higher mind and consciousness, the power and the emotion, and spending time then to be able to lift that power and alter that state of consciousness to blend with the spirit world, not a spirit person. That is the foundation to all mediumship. But everybody wants to jump straight into a workshop and do practical exercises. You know, I did that, what I just mentioned, once a week in a group, and then every day on my own for roughly 12 months. It wasn't that it was a given set time, but after 12 months, Gordon then said, "You're now ready," you know. And that's why, you know, we're not getting that blending. That's why we're not watching and seeing the mediums into the power of the communicator. You know, really, I went through a stage of calling my training, seminars, groups, soul-to-soul communication, because the more we get that soul-to-soul blending, okay, then more we're becoming the power, the emotion, and the higher mind that is used in the communication with the spirit world. So those are the ingredients within the soul of the medium. Those are the three ingredients within the soul of the spirit person. So the more we can get those three ingredients, soul to soul blending, then we'll get more to the degree where I feel what you're talking about. Which, you know, I don't like the word trance. I wish we could get rid of it, to be honest with you. And in Gordon Higginson's words, most trance mediums are not trance mediums. And I have to agree with him. That might upset a few people, but it's on tape, so I'm not making up. I can prove he said these words.
You did.
He said, you know, he says most trance mediums are not trance mediums. Some can be inspired from their own spirit, which is nice. Some can be inspired from the spirit world, which is great. And then we may get those who are overshadowed, but the spirit world haven't got full control over the medium, okay? And the actual full control, as he said, is very rare indeed. And then he said the rest of them are just delusional. That was Gordon. I mean, if we look today, now, you know, when I was involved, and Gordon used to take me out with him healing when he used to have patients he visited at home. And, you know, and we all called ourselves spiritual healers or mediumist healers. People ain't happy with that today. They've got to have the label trance medium. Yeah. Why? It's because they seem more important or special, you know, and they're probably no more a deeper altered state than the person who normally class themselves as a spiritual healer. If they're really these trance healers that they're saying, then why aren't we getting the results Gordon had in his healing? Why aren't we getting the results that Harry Edwards had? That's what should be happening if they are. Because as Gordon taught, if it is truly trance, whether it's healing or the communication of evidence, or whether it's the philosophy, something more has got to be happening. And now what I'm seeing just of late, I put a post on and caused a big storm on Facebook, people now, because now advertising as trance healers is becoming more common, they're now starting putting themselves as psychic surgeons now. Okay. So this one lady put a comment on, "Oh, I believe in psychic surgery. My husband had psychic surgery." So I said, but he had spiritual healing before that? Yes. I said, now, can you tell me what difference there was in his condition from somebody having given him spiritual healer to the person who was the psychic, what's the word? Surgeon. And, oh, well, when he went back to the hospital, the tumour had shrunk. They were amazed. I said, he may have received her, but it wouldn't have been psychic surgery. surely a psychic surgeon wouldn't shrink the tumour, they'd remove it. Where's the common sense and the logic?
Well, yeah, there would.
It doesn't make sense.
I've got a question from JC.
Yes, Josie. How are you?
Do you think spiritualism will get stronger in places like Ireland where other religions are so strong? And do you think spiritualism will become less of a minority religion?
I'm going to get myself unpopular with this one, probably.
Oh, brace yourselves.
I'll be honest with you, I've been doing quite a bit of work in Ireland, Northern Ireland, and in Southern Ireland, in Dublin. There's quite a big interest. Southern Ireland doesn't really have churches as such. There's quite a big successful church in Dublin, and I was quite amazed in Belfast. I was quite amazed in Belfast. There was a decent number for the demonstration I did, but for the Sunday service, they had to put in extra chairs. It was packed, which we're finding in the other parts of the UK, in England and Wales, Scotland. The Sunday service, we have a job getting people in. We'll get the numbers easy for the demonstration, but not for the service. So in Ireland, finding them actually they were finding the actual spiritual service wanting that. I began working in Italy. God, how long ago? I think I went to Italy the first time in 1994. So you're talking 30 years ago. So you haven't got more religious Catholic country than Italy. Yeah. And in the Italian part of Switzerland, I began an organisation. We had 50 people to start with, and it's only a small population. We ended up with 600 people. Up to 600 people attending demos. You know me, you can't took you there once. And in Turin, actually, we actually did a big conference in Turin and shared the platform with priests. And I've still got a priest now who comes to me, has been coming to me now for 20 years. And I thought what was very nice of him to say, he actually came to Germany last year, and he said to me, Paul, he said, I've got to thank you. He says, he says, if I'd have never met you, I would have not been able to carry on being a priest. And I thought
that's wonderful.
That was absolutely wonderful, because from the spiritualist understanding, you could still have a belief in God. He could even still believe to degree in works of Jesus, but he was interested more into the healing side. He was more interested in the community, this sort of thing. So he didn't have to. He knew he could carry on still being a priest. Okay, some of the official duties he had to do. He had to do, even though he didn't want to do them. But I thought that was absolutely wonderful. He did that, and I can actually remember I was in Turin, and I had to do the first lecture of the seminar. It was basically based on Jesus. And my medium colleague friends, they call me, they joke, they say I'm still a closeted Christian. But, there's truths in all religions. I'm happy to call myself a spiritualist, but I'm comfortable in a lot of religions in many ways, if you look at the basis of their teachings. And anyway, after I finished the lecture, and the gentleman priest I just spoke to you about, they were dressed in normal clothes. So there was him and two friends, and they were not wearing the priest's clothing. And they came up, and I said, I'm going to have a coffee and a cigarette. And they said, can we speak to you? And I said, well, not really. I said, well, I need a break before I start my next session. I said, well, it is important to us. We want to speak to you about the lecture. I haven't got long. And I said, well, it is important. We're interested in what you said. And I said, well, why? What you're interested in? I said, well, we'd like you to know we're priests. And I thought, oh God, what have I done? I said, I haven't upset you. I haven't offended you in any way. And they said, quite on the contrary. That's why we wish to speak to you. So okay. In other religions, you may have certain individuals that are involved, like priests, who are still very anti or closed, but there's a lot of them not. And also, in a way, the Catholic, like the Catholic people. Forgive me if I'm going on a little bit about this, but I'd like to share this with you, okay? The Catholic religion, believe in, life after death anyway, and I can remember the first time I demonstrated in Italy, afterwards, after the death, people wanted to come up and shake your hands, and if they couldn't get near you to shake your hands, they were leaning over wanting to touch you. I said to my translator, I said, God, it's like being JC number 2 here, because they think you're saintly and holy, so they have this great belief in it. Some of them have a little bit of a fear because of the negativity that's taught in the church, but mediumship's been there, been wonderful mediumship in many cultures and many countries and religions. It hasn't just been mediumship just within spiritualism, and spiritualism wasn't the new religion who brought mediumship into being and the communication with the spiritual. Many religions had it before, but unfortunately they closed the doors to the voice and the power of the spirit. And if we're not careful as spiritualists, we're going to do the same and go down the same track if we're not careful, and that's what scares me about spiritualists. So there's a greater openness there out, JC. I'm concerned about spiritualism for the future as an organisation. And, some people say, well, why don't the spirit world do something about it? And about it, I don't think the spirit world are particularly bothered about spiritual organisations.
It's man-made, isn't it?
It's just a vehicle they can use. And if we're not careful, and I think what can happen is, and I'm not talking about spiritualism, we're not all religious organised, the organisation can become more important than what they're about.
Yes.
And I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
And, the spirit world said to me, Kath, Mitch were there when I said it in 1999, the spirit world said the new millennium is the new spiritual age, and we're going to see the collapse of worldwide conglomerate businesses, financial institutions, and also religions as well, unless man turns back to the spirit. So really, and this is where spiritualism has got to be careful of, unless we make sure that we keep that power and the voice and the inspiration of the spirit within our churches and movement, we'll lose it.
Yeah.
We really will. And it's not there to the degree and the strength that it should be, unfortunately, at the moment. Gordon Higginson, and I did try when we had the new church built, but the committee members wouldn't let me do it. I wanted to drop the word church because Gordon didn't want the word church anymore. He said we need to find a new word other than church. But he couldn't think or come up with a word. He didn't want a word that's being used or already,
It's a difficult one. It's very difficult.
What he said was, churches in the future that are run purely as churches will not survive.
No.
He said there will be centres of light across the world that will become teaching centres. And I think that's what part of my work has been in the work I do. Because if I look at all the work I do across the world, even though each of the countries have got established organisations, most of the people I've worked for have not been established organisation. There's been somebody just starting off anew. If I look at a good friend of mine who I trained and taught Jose Goschalk in Holland, she's got a wonderful academy there. When she first asked me to invite me to work, she said, would you come? I said, yes. She said, well, how much money would you need to come? I said, let's do it. If there's money, there's some money. If there's not, there's not. And that's wherever I've done. It was like in Lugano in Switzerland. We started with nothing. We built an organisation with 2,500 members, up to 1,600 from nothing. I did the same in parts of Denmark. I've done it wherever I've gone in the world. It's trying to help. And wherever I've gone, and I've said this to students, one seminar in Denmark, in one place, in Copenhagen, I said to the students, change your attitude in the coffee break. If not, ask for your money back and go home. I said, if my work is about just coming about money, then I'll go and find another job to do. Yes, I have to earn a living. And I said, my purpose as a teacher, going to all these places in different countries, is that you don't need me. And that's why I'll find it, like with Holland, I do very little in Holland. I don't need to be there. I've established those people who can continue the work, and that's what I've tried to do in all the countries. I'm trying to do it in places in America now, in Australia. I've done it in Italy, I've done it in Switzerland, Denmark, lots of places. That's what my work as a true teacher is about. So they don't need me anymore. They've got their own medium, they've got their own teachers.
Well, you've always been innovative. I remember you used to go with Simon to the different clubs, which wasn't very popular within mainstream spiritualism at the time, was it?
No, we got in trouble. We got in trouble that Eric Hassan was the president at the time, and he rang me and he says, "Paul, I've got presidents from churches complaining that you're doing demonstrations in a nightclub." And I says, "Yeah." I said, "We're doing them once a month." He says, "Will you stop?" I said, "No." He says, "Yeah, but you're and Simon are prominent people within the movement and whatever." I said, "Well, look, Eric," I says, "when I go there, I don't do anything different to what I do if I'm in a church. So I'll send an invitation to all the presidents of the churches in the district, and they can come to the next one and see for themselves."
Yeah.
A few of them did, and they all said, "Paul, when's the next one? Can we come again?" Okay, people were having a drink, they were smoking, whatever. But when we did the first one, we had about 20 people. We started doing it once a month, and it built up to 200 people, with people from the age of 18 to 35.
Wow.
And if you remember, which particular Longton, what we did to try and bring new people to the church, we actually did demonstrations outside the church to advertise the church, because not everybody will work into a church environment straight away for the first time. But what we did it not for us for entertainment or to make money. We did it to take it out to the public. Yeah. And I always said in the spirit world, right from the beginning, right from day one, I said, if I'm ever going to do this work and what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, I said, I don't want to be taking demonstrations week in, week out to the same old faces all the time, who already know all about it. I said, I don't care if I have to stand on a street corner. I want to reach people and touch people who've never seen it, never heard it before. So I've always kept an element of that, even though I do love to serve a church when I can.
I know you do. And you also brought to Longton Spiritualist Church a wonderful lady named Jean Skinner.
Oh, Jean, yeah.
Do you remember you bought her?
Yeah, actually, if it's not wrong of me to say, I tried to help Jean. For those who didn't know Jean was a transfiguration medium. And there's a lot of people doing transfiguration where they sit under a red light and just pull funny faces, But there's two types of transfiguration. There's what we called the masks, where a mask is formed. It's formed out of ectoplasm. And if that mask manifests, you can actually see the space between the medium's face and the actual mask of the spirit communicator. Other times is what we call a moulding, but I like it when the mask comes. And Jean could get those masks. But the problem was that Jean was having, I believe, and I spoke to her honest, because, I brought it to Longton. And I says, Jean, one, I think you brought it to the public a little bit too quickly, and you're doing it to too large an audience, because I also brought her down to Stansted to work for the first time, to work at Stansted on my weeks there. And I found when she did them to a bigger audience, she didn't get the same results. When I rang and she says, yeah, but Paul, I can't afford financially to just do small people. I said, well, what I'll do when you come to Longton, you can stay with me at my home. I said, you can stay for a week and we'll arrange 2 or 3 sessions. We had them in the library, so it was a small room.
We did.
I said, so I'd rather you do 3 small ones, and you'll still earn the same as doing a big one, and then we can get the better results. And that's what she did with me, but I don't think she continued doing that. But I would say she's one of the few people who I can definitely say I definitely saw true transfiguration with the mask.
Absolutely, yes. I saw my own grandmother appear on her face, and then she even sounded like her, and her mannerisms, everything was just like her. It was wonderful.
Also, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, it was private to Jean really also, because when she was doing this also, she was starting to try and wanting to speak in the translate with it. And I said, Jean, stop doing it. Don't focus on the mask. That would be better. I says, but I think if you stayed quiet and let people be happy with that, and you trying to do the transcommunication, if they can form that ectoplasm for the mask, then hopefully then eventually, if you give them time and stop trying to speak in trance, they might then be able to create the ectoplasmic voice box for the voice to be with itself.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, she didn't listen to me. But the best transfiguration I'd seen with her. I've seen ones that weren't so good, but for the reasons I said, she was having to do too many. Yeah. And I think that's all a lot of physical mediums today. They try and do too many.
Yeah.
And it also comes to the public too quickly.
Yes.
If you look at Gordon would only do 2 public physical seances a year. Okay? He had for a time period of many years, his regular ones, but it was the same 40 people every week from his church, and then a few guests were invited, because the spirit will have to manipulate the power and the energy from everybody's up there. So if you've got a room full of 80 strangers, it's greater difficult for the spirit world to create the conditions to manifest that physical mediumship in the way that they want to. I'm just glad I managed to catch Gordon's physical mediumship in the last part, see her ported and fall from the ceiling roses. And then in the voice box, it was a husband who wanted to speak to his wife, and the roses were for her because it was their wedding anniversary that day.
How wonderful. Yeah, wow. Wow, indeed. And you saw many of his physical... I
only saw 2 physical.
You saw 2.
Because he was towards the end with his elf. But, I've seen the records, spoke to, the old people like Kath and Jeb.
Marjorie, yes.
Kath Jeb, she was the secretary and kept the records of all the seances. There was one where this Native American Indian materialised, and at the end of the headdress, it was in colour, and the headdress was tipped in red. And at the end of the seance, there's a lady in the group who'd come with a brand new red cardigan, and it was all in holes because the spirit world had taken the fibres from a red cardigan to tip the feathers.
Absolutely wonderful, brilliant. And of course, we had Ursula Roberts as well, didn't we?
Yeah, I think Ursula Roberts, I think probably it was one, because she passed not long afterwards. So, so really, I think Longton was probably one of the last trans demonstrations we did, and that's why, as medium secretary, I tried to bring the best. I know that doesn't sound nice in one way, but I tried to bring the best quality I could possibly bring, and that's why we were so successful. And people came from everywhere. And I believe, I tried to help somebody in Birmingham with a church a couple of years ago. Their congregations had dropped to 5, and they said, Paul, will you try and get the mediums to come in? Will you book the demonstrations? And I said, yeah, but I said, I can't do it for every week. I'll book one for every 2 weeks, because I can't fill every week with the quality I want. And so we did it for every other week, and we went from 5 to 80, 90, 100 people overnight. Because people knew they were getting quality. Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm sounding a bit critical, ladies and gentlemen.
I think we used to.
Unless we're honest, unless we face the truth, you know,
Yeah.
and we've got, and be honest with you, and we, you know, often with the mediums, we allow the public to control us too much. If we look at a lot of public who come in, they ain't interested in the evidence. All they want is the message about the daily life of what they did yesterday and what they're going to do next. And we're falling for it and bringing our mediumship down to that. I can remember, I don't know if any of you know, have heard of Eileen Roberts. She was president of the Institute of Spiritualist Mediums. And after Gordon passed, and I hadn't been working that long as a medium, and she rang me and she said, Paul, Gordon Higginson normally does our yearly event for the ISM. So he's no longer here. So we wondered whether you would take it for us. And I said, well, I've never done a hall or theatre demonstration before. I said, but if you, because we know she stayed in my home. I said, but if you feel confident for me to do it, then I'm willing to give it a try. And she says, yes, but only one thing I must insist on. And I said, what's that? She says that you don't demonstrate like Gordon Higginson. I said, beg your pardon. I said, only, you know. And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, I hope you're going to give people a message because Gordon didn't give people a message. And you see, the evidence is the message.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he never did, but that wasn't the emphasis of his demonstration, you see. But if you look now, you know, it's like when I do training courses, you know, like when I'm doing a course that starts a week, you know, and I'm working with them on the demonstration. And I say, can we move into a message now? I'll say no. And like during the week, oh, when can we give a message? I said, well, by the end of the week, once you've proven to me the spirit world's there, I might let you give a message. Well, let's prove the spirit world's there first. We can give anybody a message without the spirit world being there. Actually, I only came, I'm thinking something Gordon said recently, where he says, you know, let's stop expecting the spirit world to live our lives for us. Leave that to our intuitives and sensitives to do that, not the spirit world.
Yeah, because really, if we're aware of the spirit world and we fully and truly understand and accept what that means, and the reality that we cannot die, why do we want a message?
There are cases where a little message is needed, but what I'm saying is coming on the emphasis of what the public wants.
It is.
And you see, also, I blame, I might offend some of you, so forgive me. You know, I wish people stop advertising themselves as psychic mediums. For God's sake, you're confusing the public. They don't know what they're going to see or listen to. You know, and I put this out on Facebook as well. Oh, God, and people went for my throat, you know. Put yourself a spiritual medium. Well, I said, well, if you don't want to call yourself spiritual then, I said, why don't you put psychic stroke medium or psychic and medium or medium and psychic? And then people can say, well, what is the job public then? Can say, oh, well, yeah, we want to know about our life. Or, oh, we want that evidence of a loved one. So we're miseducating the people. And I said to her, I was really peed off with a couple of people who I've trained with, teachers at AFC. And I said to them, I says, I've told you, why are you advertising yourself as psychic medium? Oh, well, our website gets more hits by having the word psychic. I said, bull.
Because it's entertainment.
You know, I said, I've actually experimented and tried to just put spiritual medium, and it comes up just as much as I use the word psychic.
Yeah.
You know. But it's confusing the public. We've got to let the public know they're both important. I'm not putting psychics down. They've got an important part to play. I'm happy to use the psychic. Gordon loved a good psychic. You know, he believed in training his mediums, first of all, through psychometry.
Yes.
But even then with the psychic, I remember, some of you will know, Gordon at our church, he would do trans-healing, trans-diagnosis. Every new patient, people came from all over the country, this trans-diagnosis. And then he stopped doing it. I said, Gordon, there was a guy called Dr. John that used to come. I said, Gordon, why have you stopped? People come from all over the country for this trans-diagnosis. He says, He says, I can do it through the colour and the aura, he said, psychically. He said, it's easier, quicker, and I'm just as accurate as the guides. So nothing wrong with a good quality psychic and the way it's strong. And that's, as long as we say that's the only time I have a problem with psychic is if it's psychic, but they're saying it's medium.
It's from the spirit world, yeah.
They're saying it's psychic, and that's what we're using, and intuitive. Fine, I have no problem about it at all. Not at all. Yeah.
And for anybody who's interested, those chairs that Gordon sat in are on the platform at Longton Spiritualist Church now. Not been sat on in weeks.
Ones with the blue, you want to make the ones with the blue cover?
Yes.
Yeah, that was Dr. John's chair.
Yeah. Dr. John's chair, yes, we've still got it there. George wants to know, and I know the answer to this, did you ever invite Mary Duffy to Longton? As I understand that Gordon and Mary were good friends.
They were very good friends. They did have a little bit of a fallout at one time. Gordon, a lot of people fell out with Gordon at different times. And actually, I remember, we'd driven back from somewhere and Gordon had been in a funny mood. And we pulled up outside the church. And I said, what's the matter with you, Gordon? He says, you're friends with Mary Duffy and so-and-so, so-and-so. And I says, yeah. Well, you know I fell out with them. I said, yeah. But you're still friends with them? I said, yeah. But you're my friend. I said, Gordon, yes, I'm your friend. But I'm still their friend as well. Grow up, get over it. You know, we've all gone on holiday together for the last bloody 10 years, you know. But no, he thought, but he did think the world of it. He thought the world of Mary. And, you know, there was 3 lady mediums, Mary Duffy, Betty Wakeling from Blackpool, and Margaret Pearson from Scunthorpe area. Ladies and gentlemen, they were amazing.
They were awesome.
Like 16, 17, 18 contacts in a demonstration. Why? Because they didn't mess about putting figure on the end of the relationship. Whether it's a man or a woman, I'm over here, but my radar might not be working, so listen over here. They just went bang, 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 bang. You know, and they didn't go into all these big, complicated stories. I can remember the last time I heard Margaret Pearson, I took my mum at Longton Church, and my mum got the first contact. And she would come straight to my mum. She said, I've got 2 husbands here. One manufactured shirts, and the other one is on about his wallet. And then she went on to her next contact. My mum was over the moon. My father used for his business have his own shirts manufactured.
Yeah.
And in the car on the way to the church, me and my mum had been having an argument who had got my stepfather's wallet. Okay, I'm not saying they're going to be as quick as that, but that's how they was. And I remember saying to Mary Duffy, I tried it once actually, and it did work, but I never bothered again. I don't know why, man, didn't trust enough. I said, Mary, how do you know? How you get so many contacts exact with the right person so quickly? And she says, as I come onto the platform and sit here preparing, over the heads, I have a vision of something from the person in the spirit world for that recipient over the heads. And I'll give it a try once, and it worked really well, but I didn't continue with it. You know.
You didn't have any bobbing lights?
No, I've never seen a bobbin light over.
Melinda wants to know, why do you think that some spirit people return regularly and others you never hear from?
That's a biggie, really. I sometimes wonder whether some do come regular, again, as they make out, because when I first was going to church and I thought this isn't for me, you saw the same people in the church grabbing the same mothers and grandmothers week in, week out, and I just wondered whether they were the body snatchers and the medium, you know.
Yeah.
Some people can communicate quicker than others. I can't give you the answer why. One, also, it's on their state of being, their desire or need to as well, and also finding the right medium. Because, you know, like with my father, it was very rare, you know, until years later, the only one person, Gordon, who could give me a contact from my father was Gordon.
Yeah.
But when I thought about it, it made sense. And then my father wouldn't come very often. What? Because my father would only say something if he'd got something important to say. He wasn't a man of many words. And he would only say, and if he did say something, you would have to listen. So at that time, he knew the only person I'd really listen to was Gordon. So the only person he'd use was Gordon. You know, it's like your mum can be in the spirit world. There could be me and Kath there, ready to do her down. But she may choose Kath rather than me because what she wants to get across, she might find easier through Kath than me as an individual. So, you know, this is why I sometimes believe that, you know, with some people, the contacts and sittings, you know, we are better with because that communicator can communicate with us as an individual a little bit easier and better for some reason. Okay. Yeah. We've got to realise also, I can remember, I can't remember his name, Kathy, he used to come to the church for a long time. And it was coming for nearly a very long time. And I never heard him have a contact in the church. And we were working with the healing, and I was in the healing team, and he came in for healing. And it's not the done thing. And after the healing, finished the healing, I said, I hope you don't mind me mentioning to you. I said, look, while you've been here for the healing, your wife was here. Would you be happy for me to carry on? I says, I've never heard you have a contact from her in the church. They said, I've been coming here 2 years, Paul, and never had a contact. They said, I can't understand why. And I says, you'll never get a contact in a demonstration from her. And he says, why? I said, she's too private. And he says, yes.
She's not that person.
Yeah. I said, so if you're needing that contact with her, it's going to have to be a one-to-one because she's not that sort of person to come publicly, you know. But also believe, you know, I know when I get to the spirit world, I'm going to be damn fussy who I use, you know. If I'm gone, and if you're all still here, and every Tom, Dick and Harry say, we've got Paul Jacobs here, I'd question it if I was you, because I'm going to be very careful which one I'm going to choose, you know. Yeah.
In all the years that you've been doing this, has there ever been a time where you've thought, that's the most either hilarious or embarrassing contact?
Oh, it's only a little funny. I was in a funny one. It did make me go red in the face. I was giving this lady, it's in Switzerland, this young lady a contact, and it all went well, fine. And I finished the contact, and I sort of walked away and started to turn away. And also, I just turned and put my hand out, and I said, "Oh, and in the near future, I would like to give you a baby." And the whole audience just burst into laughter. I don't know what they're laughing at. And then the penny dropped. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it in that." She says, "It's okay, Paul." She says, "I've just found out this week that I'm pregnant." So I did blush a little bit at that one. I don't know. Sometimes I think in sittings, touching on certain subject with females, I find a bit awkward being a man with, you know, there was one to do where, like, it was, she was under this thing that was affecting her where I got that she thought she'd been, you know, sexually abused. So I didn't find, you know, the situations like that might not always feel
difficult.
Okay, but I've got to try to overcome those.
Yeah. And did you ever think during your training of giving it up?
Oh, many times.
I thought you were going to say that.
Probably happen again. And do you know what gets actually? Do you know what the hardest? When I go through my difficulties in this physical material life, which I've had plenty, like all of you, and I'll still have some to come and face. But when anything goes bad or negative in my physical material life, and I've told myself, it's always like, I always think, that's it, I'm giving all this up. You know? So it's like, I take it out on the spirits when everything goes wrong, and then want to throw away the most precious thing to me, you know. But what I've learned is, whatever it is, whether it's been through my work itself or my own personal life, through difficulties, what's made me want to give up. When I go through any situation in my life that has a negative effect, and once I'm come through with a positive, I find it brings a change in my mediumship and my power if I come through that situation in the positive. Yeah. And, you know, many will walk away. You know, Gordon Higginson used to do a lecture called Many Are Called, but Few Are Chosen.
Yes.
You know, Gordon was one for doing quotes. It's like the parable, you know, some seed will throw on stone, some seed will fall on stony ground, some will fall on fertile ground. And I've seen so many people come into this who've walked away. People with wonderful potential, good quality. They've even got to, not just in their development, but even become working mediums and walked away from it. And basically what we were talking about, that development, what Andrew was speaking about, is because they haven't built a strong enough foundation to their mediumship. And you see also, again, you know, yes, I'm a full-time medium. I didn't consciously go down that path. It naturally unfolded and happened that way. And I think we've got to forget this idea that too often two people have that goal from day one, or once they are become a medium, automatically think they should be a full-time medium. I'm sorry, ladies, it's not meant to be. Then they start complaining when they're not earning enough, or they're struggling, or they're having a difficulty. They're not getting. It's not meant for all of us to be at full-time work. And you know less are important to the spirit in their work if you can only do it in your part-time. You know.
Yeah. Whatever we do is important.
No, I was doing it part-time for a while, next to my day job. It just got to a stage where the demand for my work as a medium, I was finding it difficult to balance and keep them both together. And then I had to make a choice and a decision.
That was a huge leap, wasn't it?
But when I made that decision to do it full-time, you know, it was a struggle financially. Okay, I was fortunate, you know, single, I got no partner or children to support. I was lucky enough, my mother and stepfather put a roof over my head and food on the table, you know. There was a wonderful couple from the church, I can't remember the names because I'd like to mention the name, the ones who gave me the money for those all the chairs in the church. They went to Fenton Church as well.
Oh.
Can you remember?
I can't think at the moment.
They were wonderful. We was having the new church built. Sorry?
The Glovers?
No. We're having these new chairs for the new church. So we asked people if they wanted to donate the money to buy a church in memory of somebody. And he came up to me and said, Paul, how much all the new chair's going to cost? I said, £5,000. And he got his checkbook out and wrote me a cheque from the £5,000. And he said, but I don't want anybody to know, not even your committee, where the cheque come from. But then I remember, but while I was going off the subject, he came up to me in the church and he says, Paul, can we take you to buy you a new coat? I said, why? He said, well, we've noticed you need a new coat for the winter. And I said, I couldn't possibly allow you to do that. And they said, we used to do it for Gordon. If you could do it for Gordon, we can do it for you. You know, so there's some wonderful generosity people like that. And again, it's all, you know, it's like Marjorie from the you know, all the years she gave them the service. You know, it was to say thank you.
That's right.
To Gordon and to God for what they received through his mediumship, and that's why we had all those committed people running churches. You know, if you look at Mary Duffy, Margaret Pearson, Betty Wakeley, none of them drove. They travelled from one end of the country on buses, coaches, trains. I tell you what, you won't get them cancelling because they've got a sniffle. The back is flat on the car. They'd be very thick and thin.
They would.
And then they'd be lucky if they got £5, a cup of tea and a biscuit afterwards, you know.
Yeah.
That was the commitment, the dedication and the purpose behind the service. Funny little story I can remember with Gordon, and when I was the medium secretary, and it was winter, and the medium, I rang Gordon, I said, the snow and the medium can't get here. It was the Sunday. I says, you're going to have to come down to the church and take the service this Sunday afternoon. He said, I'm the president. He says, you're asking the president to take the cancellation. I says, yes. I said, you're not just president of the union, you're president of the church. I said, so come and do the service. He says, but there'll nobody be there in this weather. I said, I don't care whether there's 1 or 51. I said, come in, you're doing it. And there he came and he did the service.
I've got a question from Robert.
Yeah.
Paul, what is the one thing, I don't know if there'll be one thing, what is the one thing that you think would move spiritualism and mediumship forward today?
Unfortunately,
one thing's a big ask.
Talked the other day, you know, we've got some wonderful people, yourself, you work hard within the organisation at different levels, and there is a lot of people, so please, I'm not criticising that. Even at the national level, we've got a lot of people who give time, work hard on the business side and the organisation side, but unfortunately, since Gordon's left, we don't have a spiritual leader. That's the problem, okay? And then also what we've got to look at, and this is the difference, and again, I'll probably get my membership taken off me and kicked out of being the college for this, but here goes. You know, even if we look at the teaching, you know, and people use, you know, Gordon looked at the quality of the potential and of your mediumship. You know, it didn't matter to him what qualifications or letters you had after your name. Don't get me wrong, I'm with and I'm for education. I think it's important for all mediums to have an understanding of the mechanics of mediumship. I think it's good and important that we also have a knowledge of the history of our mediumship. But as I said earlier, we can't judge what good mediumship is. And even if I look at a lot of teaching, there's not enough power and inspiration in the teaching. If I watch, you know, even in our main teaching establishment, it's mechanical. There are people who are teaching or not teaching, shouldn't be teaching. There's no inspiration within it. I can remember I set up a scheme for the SNU, and they asked me to help them out because the Barbican Centre was going to have to close down. They couldn't survive financially. So I came up with this CSNU, which the union do, but as a mentorship scheme. And it turned out very successful. But many people in the union was against it. And I had to meet with different people from the National Executive Committee. And I can remember David, the president, blushing and whatever, because the people in the chairman of the training awards and whatever, they said to me, first of all, do you think you're capable of teaching them what they need to be taught to pass? I said, I should think so, but if you want to give them the criteria, I'll make sure it's fulfilled. So they then said to me, Paul, can you give your 2-year lesson plan? I said, no. And they just looked and they went quiet and read in the face. I said, you can't teach mediumship on a 2-year standard lesson by lesson plan. I said, we don't know who's going to turn up as students, where they're at, what they're needing as an individual. What are their positives? What are the negatives? Mm-hmm. I said, I know where I want to achieve over the 2 years, but I cannot plan it out in advance, course after course, lesson after lesson for each week. And this is the way we've gone in this too formula-sized way. Like I said, taken away the naturalness that's there. Yes, technique and structure is important. So, you know, it's difficult. I can understand why we have training and awards and want to have qualifications of a standard. I can understand the point of it. I can understand what they're trying to achieve. But unfortunately, it doesn't work. And I can't see it ever working in the way it should. That's the problem. And that's nothing against the people who are doing it. But, you know, we can face facts. There's people here who've done the CSNU. You know, you can take a board in one area with a certain panel. You go to another one, you can do the same thing. The one will pass you and the one will fail you.
Yeah.
You know, so there's no consistency, you know. And, you know, again, what we've got to look at with those assessors, and I don't know who all the people are who assess, it's not just on what the medium's manifested at that time. We can all have a contact that doesn't go quite the way we want. But a true teaching medium can look beyond what's manifesting. Yeah. And look beyond the difficulties and the positive, what's happening. So I can understand an organisation like SNU and other organisations, they've got to have these things, but it's difficult to fulfil. But the problem is now, and I've put this to the Arthur Findlay College Committee, I've said there are people out there who are got damn good experience, damn good quality and reputation, but they don't have the qualifications, so they're not allowed to work here.
Yeah.
But I choose them over some of the others. There's got to be a balance between the two. Yeah, let those come through the system if that's the way they need. But also there are people there who can't go through that system. I mean, I'm sure there was one lady, a friend, one of the first mediums I helped from Longton Church. I won't mention her name.
Yeah.
And she had a beautiful gift of me.
She did. Absolutely.
It was wonderful with working with students on a one-to-one. She couldn't have gone through a training program. She couldn't have gone through assessments.
No.
It just wasn't in her to do that. But I'd have had her on my weeks as a teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And this is where we've got to be careful. So I'm not saying the other is wrong, but it seems to be overpowering and shutting the door to the other. We've got to bring the other in and have a balance between the two. And when I've gone on a little bit, Robert, does that answer your question a little bit?
I don't know what this means. I hope you do. I'll have to let you go in a bit as well. Yeah. Paul, can you remember your contact with the man with the 3 legs?
Who's asked the question?
Suzanne.
Are you from Susan? Holland.
Suzanne Block?
Yeah, and that was at the Jose's residential seminar.
It was in Barlow.
That's right, in Barlow. Yes, I remember.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. See, I was doing a little bit of a Gordon with that one. Okay. I knew what I'd got, but I pretended shocked. I got a man with 3 real legs.
I'm still thankful for that contact. It changed my journey in mediumship. It was my father. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
But that's another again. You see, if we go back, I mean, I had to go through a period. I went through a period where I had to recognise I'd become too limiting, too controlling of the spirit world, of what I wanted and how I wanted to receive it. And I realised that. And I went into the library at Stansted and spoke to Gordon. His picture's there. And then, so I got this sort of little mantra, which I say now before any demonstration, and that is, I surrender, I'll trust, bring me whatever evidence you want to bring in whatever way I can receive it. So, some of those mediums I've trained and taught to, some of them have become teachers at the college, and we were at the college, and I said, well, I said to them, have a night off tonight, guys. I'm going to do a bit of a dem for the students. Oh no, we're going to come in. And I said, you've seen me work plenty of time, have a night off. No, we want to come in. And I said, why do you want to come in? They said, we find it interesting to watch you. I says, why do you find it interesting? They says, because with you, you never know what you're going to begin with. I says, well, of course. I don't know. I don't have a set pattern. And then another time, they said, oh, we're going in to see the other courses mediums tonight. Are you coming in to listen? I said, no. And they said, why? I said, too boring. I said, why? And I says, I can tell you what contacts they're going to give. You can't possibly know. I says, I can. All 3 will throw out the contacts, they won't go direct. The first one will start off saying, they've got a lady here, she tells me she's mother, wants to speak to her daughter, and we'll give her a piece of jewellery. The next one will throw out, she'll have a young man that's a friend or a brother that pays tragically in an accident, lived a fast life, and likes music. The next one will give you a mother or a grandmother, and will mention an household object that was popular around the wartime or just after the war. And they said, you can't possibly know that. I said, you go, you watch. And they come back and they were going, Paul, you were right. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying they're not real contacts, but if they're limiting and closing their minds to that pattern, and I'll be honest with you, and it's forgive me, and if I offend, I'm sorry. When they start off, as soon as they start off and they say, "There's a man here like this high," I think, "Oh bloody hell, not again." And so now we're gonna have the same boring contacts as normal. I can't help it. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. You never heard Mary Duffy, Betty Waking, Margaret Pearson, Gordon Higginson, Albert Best. You didn't hear all the wonderful, great mediums of them doing that. Another one. I remember a lady, a good colleague of mine, a good medium teacher, and I said to her one day, she nearly fell out with me. I said, "Will you stop saying there's an anniversary in March or October?" "Why?" I said, "Well, it's not evidence." "And what do you mean?" I said, "Well, right." I said, "Everybody will know an anniversary in March, whether it's a passing, a birthday, a wedding anniversary, somebody else in the family's birthday." I said, "How's it evidence?" And how many mediums keep doing that?
Mm.
If I've got your dad here, and he passed in November, then we can say it's evidence.
Yeah.
We're just saying, they're talking, and an anniversary in January. Yeah. It's not the communicator, but a Tom somewhere. And I say, and even with names, is the Tom in the spirit world? Do they link to the main communicator? Is it Tom they want to say hello to and reach on the earth? Yeah. See, and this is what you're not being trained properly.
Yeah.
And I say to students, who come to me sometimes, you've got to remember, I often take the advanced students, and some of them are working public mediums already, and and they're struggling all week, and I'll say, that's fine. I'm not judging you on your performance. It's what you're learning, what you can take away with it. I said, but so when you go away, from here, look at digest what I've given you, what you've been taught in the past, and then decide for yourself what you feel will enhance and improve your mediumship the best.
Mm-hmm.
And then I always add, but don't choose the easy option. And too many do. Okay. And also there's also too many teachers who just tell you everything you do. "Oh, that was nice. That was wonderful." So it comes a bit of a shock when I say, that wasn't so good, was it? But I'm not judging you. You've got to get things wrong in the classroom and the classes. I want you to get it wrong. I want you to make mistakes. I can teach you more. If you do a nice job, I say, "Well done. Okay, sit down." Fine. But if it's not working right, I can have a look, find out why it's not working right, and try to find out what we can do for you to get it to work right. That's the difference for teaching. Yeah. But a lot of students don't want it to be honest. They just want some just want teachers that are away with the butterflies and the fluffy bunnies. Well, unfortunately, I ain't that sort of person. So you either love me or you don't like me. I can remember before I lived in Germany, the first time I was booked to come to work in Germany for this organisation. There was a lady who'd got an organisation for people who'd lost children. 6,000 clients she had on her membership who'd lost children. And her husband picked me up from the airport. She opened the front door to me. I stood on the step, didn't even allow me across. And she said, "The other mediums who come here have told me I'll either like you or I won't." And she said, "So if I like you, you'll come back. If I don't, you won't." I said, "That's fine for me." I said, "If I like being here, I'll come back. If I don't like being here, I won't." She says, "I think I'm like you," she says.
Because you say it how it is.
Yeah. So, you got to remember also, every teacher's not going to be right for you. And every student ain't going to be right for me, But I think one thing that for those of you who are still developing and training and wanting to do courses, yes, in the beginning you can learn something from everybody to one degree or another. And yes, maybe you have to experience different ones, all right? But I think what you've got to come to a point, though, where you stop running to too many teaching mediums, and doing too many courses with too many different people. Because one of the problems I find students coming to me who've done a lot of courses, they're in a confused mess because the teaching conflicts and the training conflicts too much. It's up for the student to decide, you know. And I always say to the students, you know, I said, I wouldn't dream of being taught mediumship unless I'd listened and watched and seen the quality of the mediumship of the teacher and the style and the way they work with their mediumship, because that's the sort of foundation that you're going to be taught in.
Yeah.
So, you know, are you happy with what you're seeing there? And that person you're going to book to teach, is that the sort of way you want your mediumship to have the foundation in its delivery of? Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
Yeah.
We've got nods.
So you know, if you're a student who comes to me and you don't want to do direction at all, and you only want to throw out, or I'm on that side, but my radar might be out on that side, I ain't the right teacher for you. You know, find a teacher who teaches that. You know. Yeah.
Well, you're very busy these days being an online medium, which is very, very different.
I'm as busy now as I am doing with all no, it's unbelievable, really.
So you're getting used to it.
I'm getting used to it. Demonstrations. It doesn't affect the quality of the contacts. I think the only difference is with doing online is because I do throw out occasionally, but you know me, I prefer doing my direction. But with like I did a Sunday service for an American church, and there was 300 people attended the service. I thought, oh God, I hope I'm going to be able to get to one person quick enough, you know. But in each contact, I gave the name of the communicator, and I gave their work or business, and got to one person straight away out of 300 in the audience. So all right.
Brilliant.
That was the worrying part of it,
Yeah.
So we didn't spend talking about the church as much as I'd like to. Just finish on a nice spiritual moment. Just one little story I'd like to share about Gordon. I was helping him get the church ready. He was in the old church for the Harvest Festival, and we'd nearly come to the end. And like we say, it was a very wide-on platform, and he was the one end, I was the other end. And I'd come to this last bag of oranges, and I was putting these oranges on the plate, and they were all on there. And every time I put the last orange on, they all fell off. And I tried 4 or 5 times, and they'd fall off. And then under my breath, I was cursing away these bloody oranges. The bugger would stay on there. And I'm saying this quietly, inwardly, and Gordon's the other end, and all of Gordon turns and says, Paul. And he walks over, he takes the orange off me. He said, Paul, don't swear at them. Speak to them with love. They are seeds of God. And he took it off me. He placed it on top of the plate, and they stayed perfect. Like you, Bucky. But that's what it's got, and that's what's missing. Hopefully, you know, I try to work on that element, but probably not achieved it to his degree. But it was that development of that power, the reality of it, but that relationship with that power and God. That's what made the difference. Okay. And I don't believe there's any of us here who have managed to be able to have that relationship and development of that power to the degree that he has done. If we had, then we'd see more people to the level that he is. You know.
Yes, we'd see another Gordon, wouldn't we?
That's right. Okay. So,
thank you for being here. Thank you for talking to me and answering all those questions. And it is lovely to hear about the memories of Longton. Of course, you're often talked about because you were the president there for how many years?
That's all positive.
Present company accepted. But how long were you the president for?
I was president for 7 years, and I was vice president before that, and medium secretary as well.
Yeah. So going forward, I think the churches will be looking a little bit different than how they've done so far when it comes to being able to open.
I'm just a bit concerned whether people have got used to not coming. That will make the effort to come back. And then also how popular online has got. It's easy, we can sit and do it at home on the computer, we don't have to bother going out. Or we might have reached wider people who've not gone to a church, and it might bring more people in. I hope that's the case, but I'm not too sure which way it's going to go.
I think, like with everything, it's going to a church service and being involved in the service and being present in the moment. You can't really beat that, can you?
No. But again, you know, and please, I hope I'm not sounding egotistical like this. When I did the service on Sunday for New Jersey, there were people from all over the world, and the comments were coming up in the chat was not about the demonstration, but when I did the address, people were pouring in that even though we're all in our own individual homes all across the world, they said, Paul, we can feel the power and the emotion of the address, not just the words. So, because there's no barrier, there's nothing that's a barrier to the power of the Spirit. So, if a medium is in that particular address or word, they are working within that power and emotion, then it can be reached across the other side of the world, felt and touched. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, we're going to be doing online services soon.
Okay, yes, all right.
When I fixed up and sorted out what I'm supposed to do with this Zoom versus Facebook and YouTube.
Before you all came on, I just gave Kath a kick in the backside. I said, it's about time now you've got these your own services and demonstrations going on the Zoom. So get on to them, folks.
We'll sort it. We'll do it.
Right.
Thank you so much. You take care.
God bless everybody.
Love.
Take care. Thanks for joining. I've enjoyed sharing with you. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.